Hello, part 35. Welcome back. And let me start this piece by saying that this coming weekend we are going to record the podcast that is featuring the fabulous, lovely Laura Didio, which is, it's just set to be fantastic. It's going to be informative, it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be something that, just goes one step beyond a lot of talks that go around, a lot of, things that are fly around here, there, and everywhere, because it's going to be featuring someone with a lot more connection to the case than many others. Yeah, so we're talking something, pretty special here. So, again, more information on that to come. So, I did say that I was going to go back to more points, around like what part 32 was, really about, in the way that it's all about, people being, negative, cynical, this, that, and the other. And I think a very important word that I can use now is prejudice, because it has occurred to me that, some of it does come across as prejudice. It's as though they've got this need to, really be spiteful and, kind of incriminating towards these people who, a lot of the time, it's got to be said, they don't understand that much about them. They just don't get it. And I do call it a form of prejudice, because they'll be talking, some very incriminating things, some very damning things that they haven't really got right. That it's kind of, well, you've either made that up or you've heard it from a very poor source that, probably did make it up. So let's just, always consider this. I mean, something that I do want to say, and this is just to enforce what I've said before about no one ever did any harm. The Lutz family never killed anyone. They never hurt anyone. Butch DeFeo did. He killed his entire family. Yet I have observed people projecting more hate toward the Lutz family than they ever do towards Butch. I can't get my head around that. I really, really can't. And it's something that just continues to baffle me. Well, like I say, about this prejudice that people have towards this family and the story that they told. And it really does, beg so many questions as to, what they're hoping to gain from it, or resolve or anything like that, because it's like I've said before, and I'm going to keep reiterating these points perhaps in a bit more detail. We could say, well, even if it was not a paranormal story, even if it was a made-up story beyond a doubt and it was proved and there was evidence and we were on the same page, so what? What difference does it make to these people who, somehow need to hear that? Somehow need to hear that it's definitely all fake. It's definitely, some kind of elaborate scam that was, just put out there. I mean, why do they need to believe that? It just doesn't add up. And I am going to go into just a couple more examples of things that have been said online via the Facebook groups. I mean, there was one person who was forever in there, just piping up periodically saying, I do believe in the paranormal, I know it and I've experienced it, but this story is definitely a hoax and, you shouldn't believe. Tell me why no one else experienced anything in that house. And each time this happened, people would give her, I am saying her, some kind of, possibilities, some theories, we'd always list it, well, maybe the house was cleansed, maybe people weren't so susceptible, maybe, kind of the energy moved on and did follow them, and you'd get this person coming back and asking the same question again, well, if you're not open to what people are telling you, stop coming back and asking the same questions. And if you really are, as understanding and, kind of appreciative of the paranormal as you kind of claim to be, then surely you'd know that it doesn't work as simply as that. Yeah, so that's one example, of someone who, was just out, like a dog with a bone over it, for no good reason at all. Yeah. Now there was someone else who just kept on, and again, just asking the same questions, would get the same answers, and then would ask the same questions again. For crying out loud, I mean, do you want to learn something or do you not? Because if you don't, that's fine. But if you don't, then go away, quite frankly. Yeah. But it was said, I don't believe it was a real story. I believe they created it for money. And then someone said, well, actually, if you look at the story a bit more closely, they didn't make that much money. And instantly the response was, well, they were attention seekers then. Very flippant, quick answer, rather than, kind of say, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Oh, that's interesting. Perhaps tell me more about it. It's instant dismissal of something that, could prove interesting and open up a conversation and maybe open up a few doors to something they didn't already know. Yeah, and so that's what it's examples of what we're up against at times. So let's be, kind of looking at, again, some of the examples. There are those who will say it was a scam and they got rich from it. Okay. Well, for a start, other people have, kind of questioned, well, where were their mansions and big cars and everything else then? They did a good job of hiding all of that if they got so rich, didn't they? That is mentioned in the book Pure Observation, by the way. Yeah, so then there'll be others who'll say, no, they didn't make much money because the scam backfired on them. Okay. So there's two very powerful, hoax accusations there that contradict each other. Because they couldn't have got rich and ended up poorer than they started off because the scam backfired. It couldn't have been both, could it? Yeah. Now, let's look at a few points here that, like I said, I'm talking, kind of estimated figures here, because it's said that the Lutz family made somewhere in the region of $250,000. Others would say it was $300,000. Which of course that was a good amount of money, very good amount of money. It is now, but I mean, back then it would have been amazing. Of course it would. It would have been a fantastic amount of money. But then if we compare it to what Jay Anson made from the book, he was said to have made well over $10 million. Then the movie company grossed over 80 million. Somewhere over that figure is what my understanding of it, and that's kind of where it all went. Yeah, but George and Kathy themselves, by comparison, got peanuts. Yeah, that is what's fairly common knowledge. There are those who'll argue with it and say, yeah, well, they made a load more, didn't they? And they kept it secret. Well, again, where's the evidence of that? Why would a man in his late 50s still be working as a mechanic? If he'd kind of got so much money squirreled away. Yeah, George up until his dying day was working to earn a living, and that can be pretty much proved. I don't think anyone at that stage in their life would be doing a manual labouring job like that if they'd got plenty of money in the bank. So I think it is pretty, safe to say that there wasn't that much profit in it. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, this 10 minutes is running out and I don't want it to sort of all be crammed in. So I'm going to end this one for now and I'm going to carry straight on in just a few minutes. So if you can bear with us, this is to be continued. Thank you. Many blessings.